Howdy peeps, hope we're doing well. So this week has certainly given me something to talk about. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of the fuckery that's been going on the internet recently. I'm sure a lot of you will know. But I've had a couple of things go on since, there's been a murder over here in the UK, and the sort of general thought pattern for the majority of people seems to be it's men's fault, right? And that's one thing that really gets on my nerves, is when people are actually that blind, that stupid, and that just downright ignorant, and they are, right? They think that's just a problem, you know. I've got to say, it just makes me want to disassociate myself from more and more people as each day passes. The more stuff that comes out of their keyboards, I suppose, it just makes me sort of think, you're not worth my time. If you're, I'm trying to sort of suss out whether they do it for the sake of virtue signalling to make themselves look good in front of other women. There's what we call simps, right? Also, potential for male feminists and this kind of a thing. Even though a lot of the time these male feminists turn out to be the worst kind of abusers, as we have seen before. Don't forget, I certainly haven't forgotten about the old Karate Kick boy who did a roundhouse kick on a young girl a couple of years ago because she was not pro-abortion or something like that. Either way, right? Either way, you don't go around behaving like that with people. You don't just give them a roundhouse kick because you have a disagreement with them. But it seems to be the mentality of a lot of male feminists. It's okay to hit women when the moment is right. That's their thought pattern. So I guess it's the male feminists that need educating when I sort of think about it. So there's a couple of posts that I've got to admit, they triggered me. They've pissed me the fuck off is what they've done. Now, the first one that I saw, and I didn't really react to initially, I thought about it. I thought about leaving a whole long comment. But the thing is, with long comments, even I don't read through all of them all the time. I'm not going to read it from start to finish because a lot of the time, people have this real nasty tendency of when you point out the obvious, they'll just use the word salad to try and divert any sort of blame or, just to reinforce their point of, in that case, it's men and boys out of the problem. Anyway, this sort of message said it had protect your daughters, and it had that strike through, so that was crossed out, and it said underneath it educate your boys, and I'm like, educate the boys? That's a bit sexist, because I see that, and it's like, you're basically, if you're agreeing with that statement, it's you are saying men and boys are the problem when we're not. And I get it, even I've said it before, it's like, well, if you're the exception to the rule, and it's like, well, why would I get offended? So I get offended because as men, do we not get enough flack as it is? Do we not get enough abuse from society? It's just another thing now. Now it's, you're picking on the sons. You're picking on people's sons now over the actions of one guy. Now, I try and keep it relatively 50-50 on the channel. I often say I'm not tarring every woman with the same brush, but when you look at what they're doing here, that's exactly what they're doing. And that is something that really, really gets on my nerves. And I thought to myself, educate your sons. It's like, okay then, well, I've been talking on this channel for 5 or 6 years about some of the situations that I've seen, some of the situations that I've been in, and how it seems to me that a lot of these women, there's usually zero accountability. And again, even with that post itself, the fact that it says protect your daughters and it's got a line through it, it just screams out, as always, zero responsibility for women. It's not their fault. It's never their fault, right? And we know that's not the case. And I sort of thought to myself, like, do I retort to that? Do I want to go as far as putting in my 5 cents? Now, the problem with a lot of the people that know me, they know that I'll have a laugh and a joke and I'll do a bit of shit posting. and they also know that I'll be quite serious. And when I'm quite deadly serious, I'm quite the opponent, because, you know, I will just point out the truth every single step of the way. And this obviously pisses a lot of people off, because you're telling them that their way of thinking isn't correct, even though it's easy for them just to say, oh, it's all boys are the problem, you know. Yeah, because boys just wake up one day and they feel a little bit rapey about themselves, right? No, they don't. So I didn't really retort to that one. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to leave it. And then this other post started flying about, and I'm like, all right, you've crossed the line now. You know what I mean? And it was the post of every woman. You know, every woman you know has had to double back on themselves, have had to get to the street corner and give it legs because they felt insecure or unsafe about a situation. Now, I have spoken quite a bit about intuition and gut feelings and stuff like that. Now, sometimes it can be correct, it can be true, it can be accurate, but it is subjective. And I sort of thought to myself, to bring an example to this sort of a situation, because, you know, there's such a thing about, oh yeah, they're just scared. And obviously with that, there's been some crazy old arse feminist has suggested that men should have a curfew put on them after 6 p.m. so women can go out and feel safe. Is that not the most sexist thing that's ever been said in 2021? You know, this is a 21st century, and here we are. We got some old feminist 60-year-old suggesting that all men are the problem and we all need a curfew over the actions of one individual. What they never talk about is the stuff that I've spoken about, which is probably why my channel ain't too popular, is when you get caught up with someone with, I'd say they're a pathological liar, right? I won't even go down the whole borderline bipolar or personality disorders. Just say they're a pathological liar. They're the worst type of people, right? I sort of thought to myself, you know, as an example, you know, you got a woman walking down a street at night, and there's a pub halfway up this road, right? This is all make-believe, I'm just sort of saying, right? Making an example. There's a bunch of guys outside laughing and joking, smoking cigarettes because they can't smoke inside the pub, right? So this woman's walking up the road, sees this bunch of guys, and inevitably, a lot of the time, because we're humans and we acknowledge other things that are going on, so a lot of the time they'll see someone walking past, so they might make eye contact to acknowledge them, and maybe just a polite hello, right? So say that's what happened. And the other guys, you know, one guy's made eye contact, the other guys are still laughing and joking, the guy just sort of nodded his head, all right, love, you know, just being friendly. But the woman then perceives that as, I mean, maybe she's got a paranoia thing going on. I guess it's possible, you know, it's a thing. So, again, because it's all based on feeling and emotion, she interprets the nod and look as, oh, he likes me or something, right? And maybe she doesn't like him, just saying. So she gets scared, gets nervous, turns around, runs the opposite direction and goes home another way. The guys finish off their cigarettes, cracking their jokes, they go inside to carry on watching the game. Nothing more about it. There was no other interactions other than the eye contact between one of the guys and that woman, and the guys have all just carried on with their evening. The woman then goes home and texts one of her friends, oh, I tried to walk past such and such a pub and I felt so uneasy because there was this bunch of guys out there. The guys were totally innocent. The guys never did anything. Most of them didn't even acknowledge her presence because they hadn't noticed she was there. And the one that did was just polite enough to nod their heads and say, hello, darling, perhaps, or something like that. Just out of pure courtesy and politeness. But by the time that story, coming from the female version, has finished doing its round, it's gone around all of her friends, and she's told them about this bunch of lads that made her feel really uneasy, and she felt so threatened and so vulnerable. But it was totally irrational. It was all made up in her head. There was just one guy that acknowledged her presence, and that was it. The rest of them didn't even know she was there. Just imagine that. And then the consequences of her running around saying, oh, I felt so uneasy. And then all of a sudden, that's it. For the actions of not even the guys that were outside the pub having a laugh. for the actions of one woman based on her feelings and emotions, she's punished virtually the guys that were standing outside the pub, minding their own business. Probably didn't know she was there. So this is where we're at. And bearing in mind that, with the greatest of respect, there's a lot of women out there that are on head meds. They've got anxiety issues, they've got insecurities and stuff like that. And, that they can stem from anywhere, And, again, one of the other sort of things that gets, I think it gets swept under the carpet quite a lot, is even when you have a good family setting, in terms of, or what appears to be on the outside a good family setting, where there is the potential for some form of abuse going on, a lot of the time, it's the women that instigate it, or the women will start the problem, and then the mother will start the problem, then the dad will sort of take over. So the dad sort of being, I don't know, head of the household, if that's what you want to call it. But it's still the mum letting the dad get away with it. Think about that one. And we know who has the power when it comes to courts of law, court systems, and who gets taken seriously and who doesn't. In this case, it's the women that get taken seriously. The men, they don't tend to really give too many shits about. So anyway, I kind of used that example in a comment to that second post that was flying about. I'm like, so in other words, the woman's irrational fear was exactly that, totally irrational, because she didn't know any of the guys on a personal level, and the perception that she did have was purely based on her own internal feelings. And then there's the other sort of side of all this. The part that really gets me going is the lack of accountability from women when they do actually commit crimes. I'll use some celebrities as an example, as we often do. You got Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Whereas Johnny Depp was accused of all sorts of things, and when the truth actually came out, it turned out it was Amber Heard that was the abuser. Amber Heard that was emotionally and psychologically manipulating Johnny Depp, technically bullying him, if that's what you want to call it. Did she get fined for that, for lying under oath in court? Did she get in trouble for that? I don't remember reading anything, so I don't think she did. I don't recall her having to pay any fines for lying under oath in court to a judge. I don't remember reading anything about that, so I kind of go with the assumption that she just got away with it. I mean, maybe I should do a bit of research, but the thing is, when they get held to account, they need to pay. The women need to start coughing up. If they can't afford to cough up, then maybe they should go to prison. Because feminism is all about equality, right? And then the other sort of thing that I've seen a lot of on the old internet has been white knighting. A lot of these guys running around, I'll protect you from these evil men, and it's like, you'll protect her from the evil men. It's like, really? And I do often wonder as to what a lot of these guys would actually do when it came down to trying to protect someone, anyone, not just a woman, but anyone, even defend themselves from an evil man. You see, the thing is, men generally tend to have strength in body strength, right? Whereas women are just more manipulative with words and emotions and stuff. It's just how they're built, right? It just is what it is. And a lot of people won't like me saying it, but it is what it is, right? This is why when a woman doesn't get her way, she will then go on to try and emotionally manipulate or emotionally blackmail the guy just to get what they want to get. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's what happens a lot of the time, more often than what gets talked about. This whole princess syndrome didn't just show up out of nowhere. It's a learned behavioural pattern. Well, if I cry and stamp my feet, then I'll get away with it. Or if I stop bedroom activities with my partner, then he'll get me what I want, right? That's the kind of mentality that they have sometimes. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. Let's be real about this. And I sort of thought to myself, well, how about we throw a post up there that says something like that? How about educate your daughters to not be lying, manipulative sloozies, for argument's sake. What would happen? I'd get called a sexist. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you're part of the problem. You just hate women. It's like, no, I'm actually trying to meet you halfway. You wanted equality, and yet when equality is brought, you know, is brought forward with a suggestion, the first thing that a lot of these people do is, oh, you're just being sexist. And it's like, well, what you're suggesting is sexist. No, it's not. They will justify their sexism. It's sort of like 2021, and here we are. We've got cancel culture left, right, and centre. You know what? You know, this whole curfew after 6 p.m. thing that, you know, someone suggested. It's like, how would you like it if a man suggested that, and women should just be locked away after 6 p.m. and not allowed out, so we can go out and have a good laugh without worrying about fucking false accusations of rape threats and shit like that? I'm sure they'd soon have something to say about it, right? Anyway, there's just a couple of topics that I wanted to talk about. I actually thought 2021 might get better, but the feminists never, ever, ever, ever seem to cease to amaze me with their fucking stupidity. And, you know, again, equality? What's equal about that? You know, that's the most sexist thing that could ever be said. Oh yeah, it's all boys out of the problem. Not women. No, women have never lied in court. Women have never thrown innocent boys and men in jail over something that they didn't do. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. This is the shit that we're tired of. This is the shit. And like I say, you hold them to account and they just play the victim. It's like, fuck off with that shit, man. Just know. Time to be adults. You want to be treated like an adult. You want to be treated with respect. Fucking act like one. But anyway, look, I'll wrap this one up. Thoughts, comments, opinions, feel free to jot them down as always. Till the next one, stay cool, stay free. Peace out.